I always say that for anyone in politics or media who doesn't understand how Donald Trump happened in the first place, go spend an evening in the world of
Hmm.
WWE. Go watch and see the theater, the drama, just the way that even Donald Trump talks at a rally is so similar to how a WWE superstar cuts a promo in the middle of the ring, running down one of their opponents. And Trump's constant quest for an adversary, for espousing grievances, is very much like what we would call a heel in WWE world. That's how they talk. They go out there, they run their mouth, they attack somebody, and they dare them to step up and stop them. And for Democrats, particularly, they have failed to meet that moment over and over again because they don't understand Donald Trump is the ultimate WWE character. This is a guy who, by the way, hosted WrestleMania 4 and 5 at his hotel in Atlantic City, who participated in WrestleMania with Vince McMahon at the Battle of the Billionaires, who shaved Vince's head at the conclusion of that. He understands this world, and he brought that to politics, that stagecraft and theater and presentation. And to this point, half the people in politics still don't seem to get that.
Yeah, to your point there, in the 90s, I remember, Trump, I have six brothers, Trump, making several appearances and really winning over that crowd long before his political aspirations were clear. Want to point to this. John Cena, a legend, obviously, appearing in his final WrestleMania tonight, but not before making some controversial comments. Cena addressing the sex trafficking and abuse allegations against Vince McMahon, saying that he's not downplaying anything, but he loves Vince. Also acknowledging that those comments will make some people feel angry. Is it possible, especially nowadays, to separate someone like Vince McMahon from the WWE?
Well, there are people in religion who would tell you, love the sinner, hate the sin, right?
Mm.
And I think that for a lot of people who came up when Vince was running WWE, he was very formative in their life. Dwayne the Rock Johnson, John Cena, we would not know who they are if not for Vince McMahon. And so, from their perspective, he gave them that opportunity to achieve something they could not have done on their own and couldn't have imagined in their wildest dreams. And so, their love and affection for Vince and the role he played in their life, I think, is very real and very genuine and sincere. Only people outside the WWE fandom find that controversial. Everyone in WWE world who have watched and chronicled, this genre of entertainment for decades, they get what John Cena is trying to say. It's everyone on the outside who go, well, how could you stand by this horrible person who's done and been allegedly done these horrible things? Vince's impact on this industry, there's no divorcing that because he is the industry. He made the industry. He is literally the father of professional wrestling as a sports entertainment spectacle.
Yeah. Sticking with President Trump for a moment here, President Trump is supposed to be honored with the Ulafala, a sacred Samoan necklace reserved for high-ranking tribal chiefs. What is the significance of this?
I mean, those of us in WWE world, and you see Stephen Chung's tweet there, the one and the blood emoji he uses is reference to the tribal chief Roman Reigns and his bloodline, the faction in wrestling that is his family. He spent the better part of last year in a feud over the Ulafala and reclaiming that as his nickname now, the OTC, the original tribal chief. So Donald Trump getting that just the other day in the run-up to WrestleMania, and the same day that Roman Reigns Vanity Fair story dropped, created a lot of buzz in the wrestling world. And I'll tell you, there are folks here last night I was talking to at WrestleMania who are like, is Donald Trump going to show up at WrestleMania? Is he going to make some kind of surprise appearance? We saw UFC's Dana White ringside last night. This would be exactly the kind of spectacle you would think Donald Trump would show up at.
I am curious before I have to let you go here. We mentioned and teased to Roman Reigns having a crossover potentially. We've seen wrestlers cross over into Hollywood. How is Reigns looking to cross over?
Well, I mean, this is someone who is a once-in-a-generation kind of talent who can follow in the footsteps of his cousin, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, arguably the biggest movie star in the world, has the biggest Instagram following of a U.S. male celebrity on planet Earth. Roman's following that track, too. He's got maybe 1 or 2 years left of being able to physically take the toll of being in the ring the way that he is. And he's talked about his desire to move into acting. He even talked about politics. He was asked, would you consider running for maybe governor of Florida one day? And he did not say no. And so I think that when you have a talent like Roman, who has carried this industry on his back to the greatest heights it's ever seen, under his watch, we've had the multi-billion-dollar deal with Netflix taking WWE global. They're setting attendance records, records at the gate, merchandise records, ratings records. That should translate into other forms of stardom pretty easily for someone like the tribal chief.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.